This is a special edition of Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen. We're going to go to Utah, and we're going to visit with Nathan Jones. He is the CEO of Clear, and you've probably seen his products if you've gone into places that sell alternative health products, health food stores. I'm a regular user of Clear, a nasal spray, and because I have allergies here in Southern California where I live. Nathan, welcome to Late Night Health.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Let's just talk about allergies first of all. What are allergies? I know you're not a doctor, but you have doctor in your blood because your dad is a physician. What are allergies?
Well, allergies is just your body's response to you. It's your body's response to something that it perceives as a threat, and that really isn't a threat. Because like let's say if you breathed in bleach, you'd have a reaction to that.
Sure.
I thought I had turned that down.
It's all right.
But if you did that, hang on, I'm trying to turn my phone off now. But if it's when you have a response to something that shouldn't be harmful. Like people breathe in pollen all the time. It's harm. Some people perceive it to be a threat. Some people don't. And so then you have a histamine response, and that's how you get into your allergic response.
Got it. I mean, I know that I'm allergic to grass in my yard. Okay, the kind that you mow, which obviously gets me out of mowing my own lawn because
it's a good excuse.
It's a great excuse, but it drives me nuts. And several times a day, I blossom, if you will. And I think right now, throughout the country, it's allergy season as we're recording this, just in midsummer 2020. How does Clear help my body say, hey, it's okay, you can handle this?
I don't know that it's saying that to your body, because the way that the Clear works, it intercepts that. If you're breathing something into your nose and I'll use pollen in as a catch-all there, but
Sure.
If you're breathing pollen in and your body perceives that to be a threat, you're going to have that response, and you're going to get congested, you're going to get a runny nose and get all stuffed up and feel kind of, and our typical response now is, drug it up. Let's to get some drugs and do it. And so people go and they use antihistamines, they use decongestants, then they get into the Flonase and the steroids, and and they go to town with it. And what our product does that's different is it actually goes backwards from there, and it actually thins out your snot, your mucus, so that it can actually trap more of the bacteria or more of the pollen and wash it away. The same thing it does with the bacteria. I mean, the product was originally invented to prevent ear infections in babies because it stops bacterial adhesion. And it's doing the same thing to the people with allergies. Because what we want is you want to have a fluid, and I know this is not a pretty topic to talk about, but you want to have a fluid mucosal layer, a fluid snot layer in your nose, because that's what traps the dander. That's what traps the pollen. That's what traps all of this stuff, and it facilitates your body washing it away. And if you're using antihistamines, or if you're using a decongestant, if you're using steroids, really all you're doing is short-circuiting your body's response, because all those do is they stop your body's immune response. And we're not anti those. We just think that they're way overused in our society.
And what happens, you can have what's called rebound if you use them too much. And that rebound, can you explain what rebound is?
Well, rebound is when you're using something and you're using it, and it's kind of like a light addiction, I would almost say. And as soon as you stop using it, then it comes back worse than ever. And the way that I visualize and I explain it to people that ask about it is, if you're trying to fill a hole with dirt, but yet it keeps emptying, and you're just going faster and faster and faster. Well, if it stops emptying, then all of a sudden you're going to fill it up, and you're going to fill it up and overfill it.
Got it. It's almost like filling up that hole that's on quick stand. It just keeps going. Right.
And then all of a sudden you fill it up, but you're shoveling so fast that you overfill it.
Got it. Um, by the way, in all the years that I have been hosting radio and TV shows, this is the very first time I've heard the word snot on any of my shows. And not have we done it once, we've done it twice. So I just wanted.
Now it's 3.
And now it's 3. And now we 2-1. There's an active ingredient in here that I believe your father developed. Tell us about that.
Well, the active ingredient in that is xylitol, and he didn't develop it. The big thing about xylitol, it's a sugar. Looks like sugar, tastes like sugar. Diabetics can eat it, but they've done studies and they've known since the 60s, the late 60s, that xylitol prevents tooth decay. Very effective at doing that, because what it does is it actually changes the microbiome of bacteria in your mouth from bacteria that create acid to bacteria that don't create acid.
So I should be squirting this in my mouth.
Well, we sell gum and toothpaste and all that too. But the reason why my dad came up with the nasal spray idea is because when they're just by doing the research studies, looking at the people that were in tooth decay, what they noticed in all the data they collect is that the people using the gum, not only were they not getting cavities, they were also getting 42% fewer upper respiratory infections just by chewing gum with xylitol.
Oh my.
And so that's when they started looking in and doing more research. And this is in the late 90s. But what they realized is that the xylitol blocks bacterial adhesion of strep pneumo, H. flu, MCAT, staph, and a bunch of these other pathogenic bacteria. Makes them so they don't adhere to the tissue.
Your background is not necessarily in biology and physiology, is it? I mean, you were a diver in the oil fields of Texas.
Yeah.
And decided to go into business, I guess.
Well, you know, when an opportunity comes, you got to take advantage of it, don't you?
Absolutely. There's no question about that. So tell us what that transition was like and what you did.
Well, I was working in Mexico. Well, I was actually working in Mexico when I made the decision, and I had one of my many near-death experiences. And I came up from the bottom of the ocean after one of these experiences, and I got off the rig and came home and never went back to work diving. And that's why I started when I did.
Got it.
That was a transition. It was like, man, I can die here, or I can go over here and do something else.
Got it. And help people.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's when somebody creates or develops a product or markets a product in the alternative health field, and to me, that's what Clear is. It's not a mainstream drug. It's not an antihistamine, for example.
Yeah, well, it definitely is not a drug, but it is becoming more and more and more mainstream. I mean, you can find them at CVS and Walgreens and Target and Rite. I mean, you can find it pretty much everywhere now.
Got it.
Because it is becoming a much more mainstream product. We're getting a lot of doctors that are talking to their patients about it.
What and you're also with COVID-19. You've done some research with a university. Tell us about the research that you've been doing with COVID-19.
We've actually had research done at 2 universities now, showing that our nasal spray will kill the coronavirus, the COVID-19, the virus that causes that.
Whoa.
We had the first one done in March at Utah State University, and then we're like, this is bizarre. What and so we went back and had it redone, and then the University of Geneva in Switzerland, they read the report on the first one and said, hey, we want to test it, and so they tested it too.
And what happens in science, I should explain that if you say it works, other people need to be able to replicate that study. And
Correct.
It was replicated in Geneva.
Correct.
That is fascinating.
What they showed is that our nasal spray will kill the virus as fast and effectively as a 68% solution of alcohol.
Oh my.
And the thought process behind it, and then even the reason why we had it tested, is because there was a paper that was published in February in the New England Journal of Medicine, where they were pointing out that when it comes to this COVID infection, 90% plus of the viral load is going to be located in the upper airway. And so if 90% of your viral load is in the upper airway, where does it just make logical sense that you should be attacking it?
So
In the upper airway.
would this be, I don't know if you can say this or not, but I'll ask anyway. And that is this a preventive?
We are doing some studies. Well, let me finish the story because it gets really interesting, and I will be able to answer that question shortly.
Okay.
But so we had in February, we had a meeting with the FDA because we were working on an allergy product, and we actually met with them in February and said, hey, you know, this Wuhan flu, as it was called in February, that's coming around the globe, you might want to look at this, because one of the ingredients we were looking at for allergies is a known antiviral. And they just said, our healthcare system here in the US, it's better than the rest of the world. We're not going to have that big of a problem with it here.
Oh boy.
Well, you know, that was one of the most brilliant things our government has said.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, in March, when everything just went nuts, you know, we went out. Well, the FDA, first of all, they told us we could go back and resubmit all of this stuff with the antiviral department, or we could continue down with the allergy. And we just figured, well, you know, they know what the FDA knows what they're talking about. It's not going to be a problem here in the US. So we just went back and plugged away at going down the allergy pathway. Well, when everything went crazy, we sent some of this up to Utah State University and had them tested. And when we got the results back, we were like, well, that's kind of weird. So we sent it back up and had it tested and broke it down into different ingredients and had it tested again. And it finally took us 3 different studies to figure out what was going on. And then the University of Geneva, they went and duplicated what we did. So we know that it works in a lab. What we don't know is how effective it's going to be when actually used in vivo in a person. But we did apply for an IND to the government, to the FDA. We actually had all of that submitted the beginning of July. And just last Friday, they told us that no, it is not a drug, and we can't do drug studies on it. But because we have 20 years of safety, we can go and get an IRB, an institutional review board. Any hospital can go and do studies, and we can go out and publish those.
Wow.
We won't be able to make the claim that it prevents or cures because it's not a drug.
Right.
But we will be able to say, using this to wash your nose and get rid of all this viral load in your nose is going to alleviate, it's going to help wash away, it's going to help clean up the COVID issues. Theoretically, you should be able to use it to prevent getting corona. And the reason why is because and then there's papers, especially, I mean, there was a great paper out of University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, about a month and a half ago, where they pointed out that the reason why it really grabs a hold in the upper airway and then moves to the lungs is because that's where all your ACE2 receptor sites are. And so what our product is, what the philosophy is and the thought process behind using a nasal spray is, if it has, you know, if it's growing in your nose, tell me a better place to put a virucidal agent.
Yeah. It makes sense, rather than having some kind of, you know, a vaccine or shot or something.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is right now, what our healthcare providers and what our system is doing, they're doing everything they can to prevent you from getting sick, which would be a vaccination, which is your face mask, which is social distancing. All of these things that are screwing up our lives. But think of it, the minute you get sick, from the minute you're tested positive, what are they telling you to do? Go sit in the corner, take a Tylenol, and you'll get over it in a couple of weeks. And if you don't get over it, come to the hospital, we'll stick a tube down your throat and intubate you.
Right. And the people who are incubated often don't make it, which is
no, I know.
Which is
so from the time you test positive to the time you get better, they have 0 for you unless you're sick enough to go into the hospital. And what we're suggesting is that by spraying a virucidal agent or an antiviral into your nose, where this virus is growing, that you're going to be able to knock it out a lot faster.
Social distancing and wearing the mask to me makes sense,
Absolutely.
right? And there's a study on a new mask that not only protects other people in the room, but also protects you as the mask wearer. And it's another mask. I mean, every day they keep coming out with new and different kinds of things. Do you think that the government in general has handled COVID-19 properly or not?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, there's that.
But at the same time, and I know this might come back as being crazy. I don't think our healthcare system has done it correctly either.
Oh no, absolutely not.
And the reason for that, and I have this discussion with doctors all the time, is over the past 30, 40 years, doctors have gotten into the habit of not necessarily practicing medicine. They're in the habit of pushing whatever pill the pharmaceutical company tells them to do or the FDA approves. I mean, for 20 years, I've been out there talking to physicians about how not to use as many drugs. And the first thing they say is it FDA approved?
Right.
20 years ago, they were asking that, is it FDA approved? And they turn around and walk away if I'd say no. It's not that bad now. Now you can actually talk to them and you'll explain it to them, and then they'll find, is it FDA approved? And we're like, well, it's not a drug. And they're like, well, where can they buy it? And you start telling them, and they're like, and once you say CVS and Rite Aid, then they start getting on board a little bit with it. But really, they're trained that if it's not a drug, that if they can't cut you and they can't poke you, then it's not really something they're going to look at.
And at the same time, the insurance companies are in there helping the doctors, not helping, guiding the doctors, right? To do certain things, which may or may not be beneficial to patients. We are spending some time with Nathan Jones. He is the CEO of Xlear, and that's Xlear. I've been using the product. My friend Peter in Dallas told me to get this, and I've been using it for years now. Are there other products that you have for respiratory problems?
We have an irrigation bottle, kind of like a neti pot that also has a xylitol in it. And then we have a couple of other varieties, but they're all the xylitol added to it. We're working on a couple of other products that will be OTC drugs when they come out. I think I might have mentioned, we're not anti-drug. We just think that they're way overused in our society. And so our goal is to take people that are using drugs on a regular basis, OTC drugs, not the other kind of drugs, but that are using these drugs on a regular basis and kind of get them weaned off of it. And our product is really a hygiene product because what it does is it cleans, it facilitates the cleansing of your nose. And if your nose is working properly, it's filtering out about 13,000 liters of air a day. And that's a lot of dirt in that air.
Absolutely. And here in Southern California, where I'm based, the smog level is high. Today was a high incident. I don't know where exactly it was, but I did notice a news report that today is, if you have a compromised respiratory system, don't work out, don't exercise, don't exert because of that. Listen, Nathan, I know you're busy. You've got two young ladies who want to go to Nickel City, I think you said. I told you I was nosy. And what is Nickel City?
Video arcade.
Okay, got it.
Where all of them cost a nickel.
Oh, that's not here in Southern California.
$1 or $2 to get in, and then each of the games are a nickel.
Got it. It's like a Chuck E. Cheese.
Exactly.
Got it. Well, it's a great thing for dads to do. Nathan, will you come back when you have more information on COVID?
Anytime.
All right, good.
That should actually be within the month.
Let me know, will you? You have my information. Let me know because I really want to follow up on this. This is a great thing. I appreciate your time today. Hold on. If you want information on Clear, we have the website up under Nathan right now, and it's been there throughout the interview, throughout our conversation. I'm Mark Allen. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more here on Late Night Health.